let's see, we get playing a week from Friday, 2 NAI matches for the men. I think the women play Nebraska Kearney, old rival Kearney for the women. They're bringing back men's tennis. They just built 6 indoor courts up there at Nebraska Kearney. They've been talking about them for like 15, 20 years, but they finally got it done, Patty. They finally got it done. Anyway, so we're excited, get the spring off. I know we've had probably about 10 good practices, and the guys are getting antsy and the women to play different competition. And it's always kind of tough this year when it's so cold and a little snow on the ground, but we're down at the bubble, practicing hard. But yeah, we're looking exciting for another exciting season of Maverick men's and women's tennis.
For both of you guys, obviously the fall season is an individual sport, and it was a cool experience with the ITAs here this year. But can you just talk a little bit about the differences, or if there's a difference in how you play when you're doing a team duel versus an individual tournament?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say with like a team duel, you know, it's obviously not just about yourself. Like, you obviously want, you know, all your teammates to win. That's very important, especially with the scoring. It's definitely not individual at all, I would say. I'd say, like, with the ITAs and everything, it was, you know, it wasn't really team implications. It was just individual, you know. So, I mean, it's definitely going to be a big change there. But I definitely enjoy the team aspect a lot more than I do the individual. It's a lot more fun. You get, like, a lot more rowdy. And I just think overall it's like it's just a lot better, in my opinion, when we're doing, like, duels and stuff like that rather than just individual.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that it's always a better motivator when you are playing for someone bigger than yourself, say teammates, coaches, the school. So, yeah, the team aspect is so much better than individual.
Yeah, the intensity, like Tyler and Julianna both mentioned, seems to up the ante, so to speak. And the guys are and the girls are looking around and seeing what the scoreboards say. And, you know, my match is important. How's everybody else doing? It's going to be a really close duel, blah, blah, blah. So it does add a little bit, like they say. It makes our sport, I think, more like a team sport, definitely in the spring than the fall.
All right, questions?
See the way, sorry, I forgot that last time, didn't I? Wasn't handed to me. You know, with the spring coming up and, you know, like you said, you know, the team aspect of it, yeah, and you can remember the matches. Western New Mexico obviously comes back down to, you know, the RMAC championship way back when. Yeah. But now that you're kind of entrenched in the new conference, you kind of understand what that competition's like. Make this season a little less of a unknown for you guys.
I'll let Tyler speak because he's, you know, it's be your third year in the Pac West tie. He's a senior. Juliana's a junior, third year.
Yeah,
I think it's our third year.
Yeah, you know, and I think I definitely think we know more, like, what's to come. Definitely. I feel like my first 2 years, even last year, like, it was, like, rough. Like, there's a lot of teams that we haven't played before, and, you know, we travel a lot of it since we're in the Pac West. We travel a lot of the times to California, and the altitude's much lower there. So now we know what to expect, what it's like to play there. And now we know the teams a little bit more. Like, we know what to expect when we're playing Holy Names, Azusa, Point Loma, like all these teams. Like, we have an idea of what they're like and, you know, our level compared to them. And I feel like, yeah, my first year it was kind of tough because we're going to this new conference where we have not played any of or maybe we've played them before, but now we're playing all these new teams. And so that was really tough for me personally, like my first year, because it was like we're just playing, you know, such high-level teams, and like I was like, whoa, this is so much different than what it would be like in the RMAC. So I definitely think that, at least for me now, like I'm a senior, so I have a good understanding of kind of how it's going to work and just the level that we're going to play at. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. Like, you know, you're starting to build some rivalries with Fresno Pacific, especially on the men's side, and Biola. And we're closing the gap on those Azusa Pacific type men's team and women's. So it's nice to see those, you know, and some of them are healthy rivalries, Patty, and some of them are unhealthy rivalries. Like Western New Mexico, I would say, was an unhealthy rivalry, but a fun rivalry. I mean, we're all sports fans here, so it's interesting, you know. And then having that long rivalry with Metro State, but they've also been looking to the Pac West, like Tyler mentioned. It's just like you get used to it. It's new, but I think it does add that bit of a little bit more intensity. And then I think it's harder to go up in altitude than to go down. Like, a lot of the kids feel like they can swing out and keep the ball in control. So I think it makes, not that high altitude tennis doesn't, it's there's just longer rallies, harder to put the ball away, somewhat to say, down to low altitude. So the points got to be grittier. I think our shot tolerance has increased, with basically 50% to 60% of our matches now being at low altitude. The kids prefer that. When we had the fall ITAs, I don't know if Paxton and Dave and Chris were hearing the kids from low altitude. I can't get the ball in play, or I can't get the ball in here. They start hacking and making it ugly, which is, you got to do that. You got to make adjustments. So that's how I think Tyler mentioned a lot of good points. Julianna, you have anything else to say on that?
I think we're definitely a lot more prepared this season, and we're ready to fight as hard as we can and compete for each other, like we said before. But yeah, just knowing what we're getting into now, we're ready to go all in.
I say, and you've got a good mix of some veteran kids that have been around for a while, and then some new kids who played really well last fall.
Yeah, Tyler on the men's side, we got Tyler, Dre, and Jorge. Tyler and Yandre, the only seniors. Jorge is, well, they're all redshirt juniors, but Ty's graduating, and so is Dre. Jorge's going to come back. Yeah, we do got a bunch of young guys that stepped up really well this fall. The women's team, I think we only have one senior, Hallie. We do have one young lady that's not coming back because she's going on a mission. Anyway, so yeah, you're right, Patty. We do have a nice mix of kids that, the age is kind of spread out instead of being so top-heavy with seniors or juniors or freshmen.
It's a little bit easier to
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Get a program.
Right. It's always interesting for coaches, the cycles we have to. I
Yeah,
can't believe
you don't want
I
every.
just read my little article, or not my article, that Chris sent into the Pac West. 18 years. I can't believe I've been here 18 years. That's like what, 5 recruiting classes, 4.5 recruiting classes, 5. I mean, Hanks has been here, what, 27, 26. Anyways, just kind of mind-boggling sometimes, Patty.
You're mind-boggling. Come on.
Of course I am. Yes.
You've been around him long enough. It's just.
He's a weird guy.
It's just him. But I mean, he's talked about going down in altitude, and you guys are used to having to work on shot placement because of the altitude here. How does that affect you? I mean, do you feel like, hey, I can hit as hard as I can because this ball is not flying out of here?
I think it gives us a lot more leeway and a lot more space, I guess, in the court from going from high altitude to low altitude. And it also increases, we have more stamina, so we can go longer, we can have longer rallies. So I think that's important as well.
Wow, that's really 3 really good points, Julianna.
Thank you.
She was a little nervous coming in here, Patty.
Was.
First timers, we can always tell, right, Jan?
First timers, yeah.
All right, you guys, we'll finish things off with the question of the week. So, Super Bowl's coming up, which is the most watched game in the world. So what is your guys' all-time favorite sport experience as a fan?
Well, I got to meet John McEnroe, Pete Sampras, Jim Courier, and James Blake backstage one-on-one. In fact, if you ever go to my office, you'll see that picture of me and my buddy hamming it up with John McEnroe. I actually literally asked him, hey, McEnroe, did Mr. Deeds go straight to DVD? Remember that movie he was in? He was so funny, Patty. You would have loved it. He kept looking at me, and it's a guy named Jake Albert. I have to know Jake. And we had a beer in our hand. We were in Salt Lake City, and my wife had upgraded our tickets. Jake and I's birthdays are similar. So we had a couple beers in our hand. We're backstage. Literally, I didn't know we were going to do this. It's like talking to McEnroe just like this. He finally looks at me like, dude, you're a Division II tennis coach. I am John McEnroe. Why are you talking blankety blank to me? And he goes, by the way, I didn't know you Mormons drank. I said, John, nothing against Mormons, but I'm not. I'm like, John, I'm not Mormon.
First name
He goes,
basis.
I kind of like you, buddy, but you're kind of clowning around. Anyway, so that was my greatest sports experience.
funny.
I ran out too much, sorry.
I would say a Nuggets game with my family. I love the chocolate covered strawberries and bananas that they have at the. You should have it. It's the best part. It's the best part of the sports experience.
Everyone's different. It's your experience.
I would say mine was probably when I went to the Miami Open in like 2018, and I got to see Roger Federer play, which is cool now because he's retired. So I'm glad I got to finally see him. But if not that, I'd say like one of my favorites was I was at the Tebow game in that playoffs when he threw that touchdown to Marius Thomas.
Oh, against Steelers?
Yeah, that was friggin' awesome. So it was probably between those two. So yeah,
That's a tough
All
one.
right.
Do you guys have Super Bowl picks?
the Eagles for sure. Definitely.
Ooh.
Well, Patty's from Kansas.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel?
I better just say the Chiefs to keep Patty happy.
I agree. The Chiefs. No, I like the Chiefs.
I'm a Chief hater.
Like I said, get better.
Get better.
Better.
Get better, Bronco fans.
All right,
That-
thanks a lot, you guys.
I did see Elway play